Welcome to the overview on teaching students to use the writing process for a variety of purposes. Writing well requires the writer to think carefully about the purpose for writing, plan what to say, plan how to say it, and understand what the reader needs to know. It also involves evaluating plans and text and revising them to make them better. Teachers can help students become effective writers by teaching a variety of strategies for each component of the writing process and help students apply the strategies until they are able to do so independently. The writing process is the means through which a writer composes text. Writing is not a linear process. It is flexible, and students need to learn to move easily back and forth between components of the writing process. Components of the writing process include planning, drafting, sharing, evaluating, revising, editing, and finally, publishing the final product. Planning involves developing goals and generating ideas, gathering information, and organizing ideas for writing. Drafting focuses on selecting the words and sentences to get a writer's ideas on paper. Sharing is when writers show or read their ideas or drafts to others throughout the writing process, and it enables students to obtain feedback and suggestions for improving their writing. Evaluating can be carried out by teachers or peers who provide feedback, or by the writers themselves as they reread their text and consider whether they are meeting their writing goals. Revising requires making content changes, like reorganizing ideas, adding or removing text, or refining word choice to clarify or enhance meaning. Editing involves making changes to make sure spelling and grammar are correct. And publishing typically occurs at the end of the writing process as students produce a final product that is shared. Students need to learn specific strategies for each component of the writing process. Teachers should talk to students frequently about when and how to use the strategies throughout the writing process and why the strategies are helpful. Students can learn writing strategies through a gradual release of responsibility from teacher to student. Teachers need to first make sure that students have the background knowledge and skills needed to use a writing strategy. Then they can describe the strategy and model its use. Teachers should also describe why students might choose to use it. Last, teachers should guide students to practice applying the strategy as they write independently. For example, a teacher can start by providing background knowledge such as, what you write will be more interesting for others to read if you have a lot of good ideas, so you should take the time to brainstorm or write down all your ideas before you get started. Then the teacher can describe brainstorming by saying, brainstorming helps you think about what you already know. Write down as many ideas as you can think of, good or bad. You may find some ideas that you didn't think about before. Next, the teacher can model how to use the strategy by brainstorming some ideas on the board and asking students to add ideas to the list. Students can then begin to practice using the brainstorming strategy on their own, with assistance and reminders from the teacher as needed, such as, remember to brainstorm as many ideas as you can before you actually start writing your own paper. Do not worry about whether you think the ideas are good or bad. Finally, students are prepared to brainstorm on their own when they begin writing projects. Once students learn to use strategies independently, teachers should help them understand how to select and use appropriate strategies. To help students select the appropriate writing strategy, teachers could post strategies on a wall chart in the classroom, with one column listing the strategies and another column providing a list of situations in which these strategies could be used. Once students are able to use a strategy effectively and independently, they can add situations to the chart. Once students have acquired a set of strategies to carry out the components of the writing process, they need to learn how to move back and forth flexibly between different components of the writing process as they develop text. Text may need to be revised numerous times to communicate more effectively. Teachers should engage students in writing activities in which the writing process does not move in a linear fashion, but rather where students are encouraged to move back and forth between the components of the writing process as their text takes shape. Students need to learn that writing is used for a variety of purposes, such as conveying information, making an argument, providing a means for self-reflection, sharing an experience, enhancing understanding of reading, or providing entertainment. Teachers should model for students the different purposes for writing and how specific genres can help them achieve their writing goals. It is important for students to understand the purpose of different genres so that they can select the genre best suited to their writing task. In teaching a particular genre, teachers should emphasize the purpose of that genre and how its features are related to the purpose of the writing task. For example, the purpose of a persuasive letter is to convince the reader to agree with the writer. To achieve this purpose, students should think of compelling reasons to convince readers who might not agree with them. They need to state those reasons clearly and support them with evidence. Teachers can provide real-world scenarios to help students understand the different purposes for writing, such as having students write a persuasive letter to convince their parents that a friend should be allowed to spend the night, or a letter to the principal asking for permission to go on a special field trip. Students must learn to adjust their writing to be most effective for their intended audience. To help students understand the role of audience in writing, it is important to design writing activities that naturally lend themselves to different audiences. For example, teachers and students can generate a list of potential audiences for a given writing assignment. Then students can choose the audience that best fits their writing topic. They can practice adjusting their tone and word choice to suit their audience by writing and rewriting the same piece for different audiences. Students could write instructions for how to play a favorite game for a friend who also plays the game. Then they could rewrite the same instructions for the school principal who might be unfamiliar with the game. This would require students to adjust their tone and word choice to suit the chosen audience. Students can learn to adopt the features of good writing in their own pieces by being exposed to exemplary texts, also called mentor texts, from a variety of sources, including published or professional texts, books, and textbooks, the teacher's own writing, and peer samples. Teachers should select texts that support the instructional goals of the lesson, are appropriate for the students' reading levels and abilities, and provide exemplary models of what students will write. Teachers should read exemplary texts aloud or have students read exemplary texts, paying attention to word choice, structure, or other style elements. The class can discuss how each text demonstrates characteristics of effective writing in that genre. Students can then practice using these characteristics in their own writing. Students must also learn to use techniques that are specific to a purpose of writing. Techniques can help students frame their writing for a specific purpose. Techniques should be taught explicitly and directly through a gradual release of responsibility from teacher to student until students are able to apply the techniques independently. For example, students in younger grades can imagine using their 5 senses to describe the sensory details of a piece of writing. What did I see, hear, touch, smell, and taste? In grades 2 through 6, students can complete a KWL chart to gather appropriate information, what I know, what I want to know, and what I learned. In older grades, students can practice the tree technique as they write. They tell what they believe with a topic sentence, provide 3 or more reasons for why they believe this, wrap it up with an ending, and examine to make sure they have explained each of their reasons.